now from out in Vegas. He was there at the NIT last night. Coach, congratulations on a successful tournament out there.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It was a lot of fun. I tell you, it's the first time I've been on a committee of that magnitude.
Yeah, talk to
And
us
it was,
about that. You got on the board in 2022, and you got on at a time where, like, I'm used to the NIT at MSG, and
right,
we're,
right,
we're at
right.
a time where it's moving. It's in Vegas this year. It's going to Indy next year. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Oh, it's pretty unique. You know, the biggest change is now owned by the NCAA. Back in the day, it was affiliated with Madison Square Garden. And I even took a team there. I don't know if you remember this. I took a team. We to the championship game against Michigan back in the day, and that was an unbelievable tournament. So, and this one here was I mean, just as exciting.
Wait, which team did you take
That was your
against
Penn
Michigan?
State team, right?
No, it was the Rutgers team.
Oh, that was a Rutgers team.
Yeah, we ended up playing Michigan in the finals.
Yeah, so I don't know if you remember, Jason's a
That's
Rutgers grad, and I'm
I
a
was up
Michigan
there for
grad.
games this year. I was up there watching some Rutgers games this year.
Oh, they did well this year, and I mean, he's doing a great job. The coach there now is doing a fabulous job.
So talk to us a little bit about that. So the NIT finishes. Now it's on to March Madness Final Four this weekend. You got the women's tournament and the men's tournament sort of in the same area. Let's go men's tournament first. Upsets galore. It's the first time we haven't had a top 3 seed from any region there since the 1970s. Talked about what you've seen in this postseason tournament.
Well, just let me mention this first. I'm here at the Final Four right now. I flew in this morning.
Oh,
Yeah, and I'm doing a book signing as you and I are speaking.
Wait, is the new book out?
No, the new book's not out, but I'm doing the
Oh.
one on 10 principles, and I'm a character coach, and so the Fellowship of Christian Athletes had me come out to do this, so that's what I'm doing.
so talk to us about what it's like, the atmosphere on the ground out there. Is there a lot of fans out there now for the different
A lot
teams?
of fans, and we're in the convention center, and it's totally packed. They got a clinic going on with maybe, I'm going to say, 100 coaches there watching it, and they got booths and everything else, and people are going around and just getting a chance to just be a part of basketball.
So, look, everybody has an opinion, and I'm sure you have one too, of what this means that we don't have the big name programs in here, the traditional powerhouses.
Well,
yeah.
What you're saying is really, really true. And let me mention something that I think has really gone unnoticed. The team that won our tournament was North Texas, and the conference they're in is the USA. Okay, and the USA had two teams in that final. They were both from USA. And there's another tournament that was completed called the CBI. And Charlotte won that tournament. That was from the USA. And now we're getting ready to see the Final Four where we got Florida Atlantic in it. And they're from the USA. No one's talking about how great that conference, and that's a mid-major conference.
I think they're 18-2 so far, with one of the teams losing last night with winning in terms of the 3 tournaments.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't hear you.
I said I think they're 18-2 now with the loss last night, but I mean the conference has been dominant. Talk to us about the matchups here that we're going to see. We're going to see San Diego State and FAU. That's the opening matchup, and then Miami UConn will close it out. What do you expect to see on the court?
Well, you got in the first round. The first game, you have 2 mid-major teams playing there, with San Diego State and Florida Atlantic. You're going to see a really competitive game. I mean, these 2 teams are better than what everybody thinks. They could play against anyone, and I'm going to tell you why they're better than anyone. And it's probably the primary reason why you have so many mid-majors doing so well right now in the NCAA tournament. Number one is many of the players that are playing are older players. And when you talk about the Power 5 conference, many of those players are one and done or 2 years or so on, or transfers. So it's not the same. In the mid-majors today, you got older players, and they also got that COVID year, that 1 year COVID. So you got guys 25, 24 years old playing in the tournament.
Yeah, but here's the problem though.
Okay.
you have these mid majors that have these older players, but then those players leave. They have to leave. Are mid majors going to be able to sustain the success, or will it be a gradual process of a one and done, and then having to do that again because they're not going to be able to get the one and done great players, the perceived, great players from high
Right.
school?
That's a great question, and when I think about it from my viewpoint, I think it's going to go back. I think they got 2 more years left on the COVID year of that class that came in when COVID hit,
Mm-hmm.
and once that's over, I think it's going to be very difficult for them to maintain what they're doing right now. I do think that, but however, if they continue to work at the level they're working and they're getting the type of student athletes they're getting, I tell you, it could remain.
Yeah, we'll get back to your picks and who you think you're going to win these games. But one of the reasons that we love having you on the show is because you talk about character and what's important to the game, the sport, to the students, things like that. And we have a situation now where Florida Atlantic coach has said that during this tournament, his players are being recruited away.
Yes.
That other people. To me, that's not a character. And you also have Tom Izzo now making a comment today about the kids in the transfer portal. We've talked to you about the
Right.
transfer portal before. As somebody who went through this process, was a
Yep.
coach and had to recruit, is there a way to stem the tide of everything that's wrong with the transfer portal so that you can get to the point that what's good about the transfer portal could work?
Well, you know what? I think you're at the early stages of the transfer portal, so you're going to see a lot of the negative things occur because they're trying to figure it out. I think eventually, as time goes on, they'll be able to figure it out, and kids won't be as elusive as they are to be involved in the transfer portal. See, there's some things that I'm struggling with the transfer portal. The one thing is that a player can go into the transfer portal, and if they don't get the school they're looking for, they can't come back to the school that they were in before, because now that coach has went out and got players to on scholarship to make his program better. So and to give you a little insight, what I'm saying is a year ago they had almost, let's say, 1,200 kids in the transfer portal, but they only had 800 destinations. So there's 400 that didn't get something.
On this year,
And
they're saying it could be up to 2,000 kids in the portal.
and that's scary.
Yeah,
That's
because you have
really,
the COVID
really
year of eligibility, so there's that additional number of kids that are there.
Right. And I feel bad for how the system has turned on the kids, because not only are you hurting the kid that goes into the transfer portal, think about the freshmen that are coming in. Now they got to deal with an older guy, and a guy that all of a sudden is coming from another place, being put in that position to be the person they need for what they're going through.
Oh,
It's very difficult.
that's assuming the coach is still at the school. We've seen 11 major conference coaching changes this offseason, another 39 changes from the non-Big Six. That's 50 different coaches, with all those students potentially looking to move someplace else because the person who recruited them isn't there. Talk about the challenges for coaches now. We've seen, Jeff was talking to me last week about how his frustration with the tournament is anytime you see one of these small schools make a run, the coach is
Mm-hmm.
going to end up jumping to a different job. And we saw a bunch of
Well,
that happen.
Well, it's happening. It's happening frequently now. I was just in the finals of the NIT, and North Texas was involved in that. And if you remember, they won the NIT championship. That coach now goes to Texas Tech.
And Utah Valley's coach, Mark Madsen, now went to Cal. So,
He goes to Cal. So you're losing them. It's a never-ending process. But you can't take that away from the coach to aspire to go to a higher level. That happens. And we're talking about in coaching, but think in the business world. people move and they excel, and before you know it, they have another position.
Yeah, and obviously promotion is part of life. If you can
Yes.
get a better job, yeah, but you'd like coaches to stick around at least for a period of time, and if they don't stick around, I think there should be some limits on them. So I'll give you it's a college football analogy. Deion
Okay.
Sanders had a lot of success at Jackson State.
Right.
He leaves Jackson State for Colorado. He can go on to the better job, but what he also did was took all of his best players, told them to enter the transfer portal, or they coincidentally enter the transfer portal, and all end up at Colorado. So not only
Yes.
has he helped the program while he was there, he left the program, and which puts them at a disadvantage, and then he took all of their best players. Is that
Yes.
something that you
Yes.
think should be happening?
No, I don't think it should be happening. And you know what? They can legislate that out if they want to eventually, because they're going to have to put some parameters around the portal, because they don't have right now. They don't have any major parameter rules for it. They have certain things like you only can do it one time and things of that magnitude. But in regards to what you're talking about, there's no parameters for that.
Why?
And they need to. I don't know why.
Well,
I don't know why. I
how
don't
is
even
it?
think
This is an organization that's got lots of money and lots of professionals and lots of lawyers at their disposal.
Careful, he's on a NIT-backed NCAA board now.
But how do you? And we all saw this coming. I believe we talked
to you about this coming.
before it actually happened. And
Yep.
despite it all, everybody knowing it was coming, nobody sat down and figured out what the rules are. You can't figure out everything. There are always unintended consequences. But some of this stuff you could have figured out. We all know that everybody's angling for the best for themselves in their program.
Correct. Yeah, and I agree with that. Eventually, someone's going to have to step up or step forward and say, "Hey, something is wrong with this." Even though it's new. See, it's so new that no one knows what to do with it yet. The same thing with the NIL. It's so new that they're really struggling what to do with it. And until they get a few years under their belt to understand and see all the ins and outs and the positive and negatives of it, it's hard for them to make a decision on certain things. But what you're saying is absolutely right. They should have been prepared for what's going on right now.
Based on what
But let me say this. What's happening, we have questions about. However, when the sport is still having success, they feel we don't have to change it right now. Let it start going downhill, then we have to make changes.
All right. Well, I'm going to ask you a more personal question. Based on what you're seeing now, would you have wanted to be, or do you want to be in this type of environment as a coach, and would it make your job easier or harder?
Well, you asking a very direct question. My wife has said, "You won't. I know you don't want to be a part of this stuff that's going on." And it would make it more difficult. I'm gonna be honest with you. I can't, try to hide the process. It would make it more difficult. You got portals, you got transfers, you got fifth-year transfers, you got the NILs, and the NILs are for single individual people as opposed to related to many team members, and they're fighting among themselves. It's just so much stuff going on.
All right, I'm going to come back to the games to finish up with you. We got the men's bracket this weekend. We got the ladies bracket, too, where you've got Caitlin Clark, who's just been dominant going up against Dawn Staley's team tonight. What are you thinking we're going to see in terms of predictions on the men's and women's side with some of these games?
Well, I tell you, let's start with the women first. I think, obviously South Carolina is a tough team. It's going to be hard to beat that team, but it's going to be a great game, and I think it's going to go down to the last minutes. But I think that Staley's team will come out on top. But I love the girl at Iowa. She's a special human being out there playing this game of basketball, and they could easily win this whole thing this year.
How about on the men's side? Are we going to see a surprise where one of the lower seeds does it, or does UConn, the only team that's coming in with any previous titles, continue to be the only team in the Final Four there with a title?
Well, if you ask me who I'm picking, I'm gonna say I would pick UConn. UConn is really a dominant team this year. However, don't sleep on San Diego State. They're older. They're a physical team, and they know how to win. So when you got those three things going for you, it's going to be difficult to beat a team like that. And the teams they have played in the tournament felt that.
Coach,
They felt that they had a chance with that team, and that team just wore them down.
Coach, enjoy yourself out at the Final Four. Always look forward to talking to you. Thanks so much for giving us some time.
Wait, I got a question for you before you go. You said that you're out there talking about your last book. I thought there was another book on its way.
Oh, it is, and that'll be out this year. And I think it'll be out sometime in November or December, and it's titled "Coaching Millennials from a Character Perspective."
Oh,
That's
you have
different subject matter.
You have got to come on to talk about that
You
one.
hit Jeff's wheelhouse right there. So
well, I tell you, for me, it was very interesting in researching material for this book, because I had to determine or find out why the millennials turned out the way they've turned out.
Oh,
in our society today.
All right. Well, I'll be calling you this weekend to find out, because maybe it'll help me as a parent.
Coach, enjoy the Final Four. We look forward to talking to you when the book comes out or before that. Thanks so much for the time.
Okay. Thanks for having me on.
Take it easy. Jeff, look at you with the pointed questions, asking him if he wants to coach.